for myself, I want to make those around me as good as I can make them, and make them perform at their best. That's kind of the way I view myself as a CEO. I want to make everybody around me perform at their best. And so if I can coach them or help them in any way, but I mean, what you deal with when you're creating these types of companies is, you're bringing in a lot of personnel, and I think, everybody makes mistakes in hiring on occasion, and I think as you grow as an organization, you might grow or outgrow some of the people that are on the team.
We want people to feel like they created this, that they own it, and they're in charge of it, right? Regardless of who's around them, or if sea levels breathing down their neck or not, they own it, and they need to execute on it. And because of that, again, our quality department, our operations department, project management, and sales and marketing, every single department here has that same mentality, and that's kind of what we push down to them.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
When you think about culture, you think about all of the elements that drive your culture forward, that connect your people, that allow you to perform at a higher level. Well, one of the factors I've seen in all these interviews on this podcast, through my clients, and talking with founders and CEOs of fast growth companies, is an entrepreneurial culture is something that they aspire to. When you think about an entrepreneurial culture, it's not about encouraging your people to be entrepreneurs and lead the company. And in fact, it's just the opposite. Encouraging them to think like entrepreneurs is where they will give their all. Their loyalty is increased. Their creativity and innovation is taken to a higher level because you treat them as equals, not just people that are there to get the work done. When you talk about your people, I want you to think about this entrepreneurial culture as a way to engage them to go beyond where they are today and just doing the work, but really enjoying what they do and putting everything they've got into it. We have a very special guest today on the show. It is Gavin Collier, the CEO of Dynamic Blending. We also have Jordan Erskine, the president of this company. They were number 17 on the Inc. list, over 11,000% growth in a 3-year period. What we talk about today is the entrepreneurial culture. This is about empowerment. This is about really inclusion and how people feel connected to what's going on inside here. We talk about a lot of the different details that allow you to mimic this entrepreneurial culture, but most of all, why it's so important for fast growth. When you think about leadership and growth, I want you to think about Growth Think Tank. I pride myself in interviewing the founders and CEOs of the fastest growing companies. That's what makes us different. The stories that we have and share are all for other founders just like yourself. If that's you, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us on YouTube because we put some of the interviews over there as well. We really want to create content to allow you to be the leader that your team deserves. Now, before we go any further, make sure you subscribe. And then now here's the interview with Gavin and Jordan. Hey guys, how are you?
We're doing great.
We're doing good.
Doing awesome.
Well, I'm here with Gavin and Jordan to talk about dynamic blending. I'd love to let you guys tune the audience into exactly what do you do at Dynamic Blending?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so at Dynamic Blending, we're a full service turnkey contract manufacturer. So we manufacture products in the personal care space, the cosmetic space, the skincare space, oral care space. We have capabilities in the hundreds of products that we manufacture at Dynamic Blending. We have an in-house R&D lab. So the goal of Dynamic is to move a product from start to finish. The customer never has to leave and look elsewhere for services or anything like that.
Well, I would imagine that business has been exploding over the last few years. You guys were number 17 on the Inc. list. When you guys got notified that you actually were 17th, how did you feel?
So it was kind of funny. We found out, and we kind of didn't want to tell the company right away. And so we kind of celebrated quietly there for a minute. It was really cool. We were able to share with our families the awesome growth that we had. But then we did a really cool reveal to the company and brought in food trucks and had drones flying around and did a cool presentation to the company. And it was really just an honor because I mean, it happened because of the people that we have that work for us. So it was just a really good time. So it was awesome.
I want to put this in context, and you don't have to give me the numbers you don't want to share, but it was published that you guys did 11,491% growth in 3 years. And that's revenue growth.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of companies go, how is that even possible? So what would you explain that?
I'd say it's possible and it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's been a good couple of years. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, and me and Gavin, our background's in contract manufacturing. That's why we started Dynamic Blending. So combined, we have 30 years of experience in the industry. And so when we started Dynamic Blending, it was very, very easy to know exactly what to do, how to set up the processes for the company, how to build the departments out, and how to win those contracts. And that's what we did. We started going after those big contracts and started winning those because people knew and companies knew that we know what we're doing. We were disrupting the contract manufacturing space.
Yeah.
And you guys have just under 100 employees. It's hard to scale that fast, but you have to have people. And you had mentioned this too, Gavin, about how important your people were. What would you say is the core principle, the core guiding light, if you will, to the people of this organization?
I mean, one thing we always ask every person we interview is, we kind of give a hypothetical of we want people that are willing to do what it takes to get the job done. And we give the example of, if an audit's going to be done on our facility, that you'll see Jordan or myself out sweeping the warehouse. We want employees that don't feel like any job is beneath them. And so we look for that type of a person. And that's what we've found so far. Everybody is willing to work and do what needs to be done to get the job done and do it right. And that's what our customers demand and require. And our personnel, they're awesome. It's like a big family, and people love working together and at the building. So it's awesome.
I'm always curious. I want to go a little bit deeper with that.
Yeah.
How do you determine that inside of the interview process?
It's kind of a gut feeling. And then you kind of notice pretty quickly after, if you offer a job to somebody and they start working for you, you kind of realize who they are pretty quickly. And our gut feelings have been pretty good so far. We've made some mistakes, but obviously we've been pretty good at picking our personnel. And a lot of them, at least the main positions, were people that we knew from industry prior to starting Dynamic Blending. So we had some pretty stable pillars to rely upon. Great people. So
now hold on for a second. Did you hear them talk about gut feelings in the hiring process? Well, you're probably much the same. You know when someone is right for the job, the culture, or not. But what could you do to operationalize that? What could you do to systematize it? Make it more predictable? Well, you take your values that you have inside the company, the things that are most important in the culture, and you actually create questions that allow you to see if there's a fit. Now, I would encourage you not to create a direct question, but create an indirect question. Create something that allows you to see the real intent and natural place where this person is. Now, when you think about hiring the right people, you can trust your gut, but we all know that sometimes we make mistakes. Create some questions in advance for you and the team to see how well they fit with the culture of the company. Now back to the interview. Well, I know that one of the things you guys are proud of is building a team that feels empowered. And a lot of leaders are trying to figure out how do we actually do that? So how did you approach empowering your people?
Yeah, I think, we're very innovative and entrepreneurial here. And I think that's the culture that we want to keep. And because of that culture, we get very, very good results from our employees, and because of that, it's easier for the C-level, me and Gavin, to take a step back and not always be micromanaging, right? Like our marketing and branding team, nobody micromanages them because they have their tasks to do, they go do it, and then they bring it to us based on their creative genius, whatever they feel. And that's kind of how we treat every department, whether it's, our project managers setting up custom processes, no one's sitting there over their shoulder, do this, and this, even though we can, right? Because we have over 30 years of experience in the industry, we try to empower people so that they feel like they're important and they feel like they own those processes, right? They created them and now they own them, and obviously they're going to follow them a lot easier if that's the situation.
You guys probably aren't that familiar with my research, but hundreds of Inc. founders like yourself that are driving fast growth companies really go for not a culture of accountability, but a culture of ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And that ownership is where people feel connected to the mission, even if they don't have a financial stake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you guys given everyone a financial stake, or is it only certain segments of the employee staff?
So one cool thing we do, because we're so entrepreneurial, I mean, I've created companies with Jordan, and we will cut in our C-level guys. We'll cut in our managers onto these side ventures so that they feel like, hey, I've got a stake in this other business with Gavin and Jordan. And then we also, I mean, we've done really great bonuses for our people, and we make everything as fun as we possibly can. But I mean, we look to include the key people where they need to be included, and give them that ownership, that stake, where they feel like, look, if I do well, I'm going to benefit, and that's what we want. We want them to benefit. And I think what you'll find with Jordan and I is we are not some people, you could say ownership are typically wanting all the money, and we want to make everybody around us as rich as possible. And if we do that, I think we, along the way, will become quite successful. So we look to build these awesome teams, and that's what we've been doing. So.
Well, I want to go back to something you guys said. I can't remember who said it, but you were talking about, you've been in the business for 30 plus years. You know how to do everything, but you don't micromanage. So how do you resist and work with people when you know how to do something, but you want them to own the steps and the process and that journey? Is there a specific approach you take to that?
It kind of goes back to what you're saying. It's not necessarily accountability, but more on that ownership side, right? So they still own those processes or their job function, and they're still held to that standard. But again, we approach it a little bit differently, because again, we want people to feel like they created this, that they own it, and they're in charge of it, right? Regardless of who's around them, or if sea level's breathing down their neck or not. They own it, and they need to execute on it. And because of that, again, our quality department, our operations department, project management, and sales and marketing, every single department here has that same mentality, and that's kind of what we push down to them is again, starting a manufacturing company from scratch 5 years ago is very, very difficult. I mean, we're still creating new processes every day, and it's been 5 years. It's what we're doing is just such a beast of a company, and there's so many moving parts, and we've got FDA regulations that we have to follow and make sure that we're in compliance there, and there might be compliance things that we have to hire a whole team of people just to make sure that we're staying compliant, and so the empowerment side is huge here, and I think that's why we've grown so fast, and we haven't had a lot of issues with employees or employee turnover. I mean, imagine growing a company like ours, and we have constant turnover in our R&D lab. We can never keep chemists, we can never keep a VP of research and development. Then we wouldn't be very successful. We would spend all of our time interviewing and clawing our eyes out trying to find a good solid person that we're never gonna have to worry about again. And so I think going back to that empowerment thing, a lot of people still don't understand that. Is how you treat your employees is the work you're going to get back.
You guys may not be aware of this, but I have an impossible question I ask founders just like yourself. I don't always do it, but I'm going to ask you guys. And it is an impossible question, but as leaders, what's more important, your employees or your customers?
That's a difficult one. Well, I think for me, if I don't have my house in order, my employees doing what they need to do, then I can't take care of my customers. So right. I can't say that my customers are important if I know that my employees are not performing at their best and doing the job that needs to be done so that the customer gets what they're paying for. So I'd say in that order, I got to make sure my employees are number one priority for me. And then thereafter, because of that prioritization, my customers benefit because of that. So.
Yeah, and I wanted to add one thing too. I think Gavin's spot on. If our internal employees and our departments aren't set up and they're dysfunctional, then we're not going to have customers, right? If we have continual safety issues in operations and warehouse, then that's going to detract from us, retaining customers. So, and what we found too in the, few short years since we've really been hitting this business hard is customers are attracted to our team, right? They know that we're experts. That's not a question. It's they fall in love with our team and they trust us and they want to do business with us because they see that, we're innovative and disruptive and we're doing really cool things in the industry. And so they just are attracted to us naturally because of our team and because of our employees. And any given customer will talk to, maybe 10 different people here throughout their process, throughout their life cycle of getting their product from R&D and through our various stages to market. They'll talk to many, many people on our team. And if they aren't confident, we hear about it, and we've had a couple issues in the past that, we've had to address, but for the most part, our clients and our customers fall in love with our team, and our employees.
Okay, so now that you understand employee first is what created the space for this company to grow fast, I want to ask you a question. Are you employee first or customer first? Do you focus on the employees' well-being and how they engage around the work that they do? Or do you focus on serving the customers first? I know this is a hard question. That's the reason I call it the impossible question. But fast growth companies will create a space for the employees to feel taken care of. They feel like they're connected to the work. They feel like owners. When you do that as a leader, you will have a powerful force behind you. And they can serve the customers as they need to be served. They can find the problems. They can be intentional when it's necessary. I share this with you because my research around fast growth companies leads me to one big idea, is that those leaders put employees first. And that's what makes the company scale at the pace they do. Back to the interview. Well, I'm glad to hear you say that because it fits along with the lines of what your peers are saying. The details behind this are 94% plus will say that it's employee first with fast growth companies. Mm-hmm. Bigger companies, slower growing companies, all will kind of go to customers because they want to serve the customers. And we all get that the customers have to be served. We have to solve problems. We have to add value. But in order to scale at the rate that you guys are going, it takes that special brand of a team.
Yeah.
Right.
You had said something earlier, Jordan, I think it was you, that an entrepreneurial culture, empowerment is one of those factors. What else do you kind of put in there as a part of that entrepreneurial culture?
I think maybe candidacy, we want our employees to be candid with us, right? We don't want, problems or anything like that to be swept under the rug. We do a very good job at letting all our employees, any problem whatsoever, you need to be candid. We need to address it quickly. And because of that, we're able to put these fires out quickly and not let it be a huge issue down the road, and I think it's just because we've instilled that in all of our employees that, mine and Gavin's office door is always open. With the amount of money that we're making and how fast we're growing, we could be those owners that are never here, but we're here every day and we're right alongside everybody and people are coming in and out of our offices and we're helping them make these decisions or helping them solve these problems. And I think you have to have that open line of communication because, I've heard of businesses and have known of businesses where the employees are very scared to go talk to the C-level or very scared to go talk to the founder, because he's so untouchable or they're so untouchable. And it's not the case at all. Like Gavin said earlier, if we have a big audit or a big tour with a big company, we'll be down in the warehouse sweeping with everybody, it's not above us. And I think that's, that empowerment that, it's not my job doesn't exist here type culture. I think that's another really, really important part of that empowerment is, it's not my job excuse just doesn't exist here.
If you happen to be listening to this on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and subscribe now. Don't miss an episode of Growth Think Tank. We want to give you the best insight we can with the interviews from the founders, CEOs of fast growth companies. We create content specifically for you to be a leader that your team deserves. Now back to the interview. Well, I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. You guys are pretty young. You're younger than I am. And you got the fancy haircut to go with it, Jordan.
Not that fancy.
But you guys have evolved as leaders. What is something you guys have learned, maybe the hard way, in this journey of fast growth around leadership that, humbled you a little bit, but made you better because of it? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I mean, I was talking with Jordan about this beforehand, but I mean, I think, and you also, just that knowing when to let go of a key, maybe power you had beforehand, or a function that you had as a founder, and kind of passing the reins to somebody else, and allowing them to take ownership of that new responsibility that you're passing off to them. I think that's a very important thing to do as a leader. And I think for myself, I want to make those around me as good as I can make them, and make them perform at their best. That's kind of the way I view myself as a CEO. I want to make everybody around me perform at their best. And so if I can coach them or help them in any way, but I mean, what you deal with when you're creating these types of companies is, you're bringing in a lot of personnel, and I think, everybody makes mistakes in hiring on occasion. And I think as you grow as an organization, you might grow or outgrow some of the people that are on the team. And it's important, I think, as a leader to recognize that early, because if you allow that to stay, then it actually creates problems throughout the company, and it's very important to address quickly. So that's my answer.
There's a wise saying, it gets repeated in different frameworks, but sometimes the people that got you here aren't the people that get you to the next level.
Yeah.
Right.
And as hard as that is, many times it goes back to they failed to evolve. They failed to really step up in a way and take ownership, from my perspective. So I appreciate you saying that. Dynamic blending has had a very strong run here. What's one thing you guys are focused on in the future to improve the culture and the team as you continue to grow?
I mean, I think we as we continue to grow, I think we always kind of, even when we interview people, we talk about the opportunity, right? And we want people to take ownership of their positions, but we want them to envision something far greater than what they see on day one when they come to Dynamic. Because of where we came from, we've seen those, $500 million or $1 billion manufacturers, and we see ourselves there as the leadership of the company. We see in the next few years our company being there. So I think as leaders, we tried to convey that vision to them, so that they see the opportunity that, right now you have a certain number of employees, but you could have 50 to 60 to 100 yourself. And that's kind of what we try to do as a leadership. We want people to see the big picture, because we see it, and it's going to be awesome. So we want them to get us there.
Well, thank you guys for being here on the podcast. Really appreciate you sharing that wisdom.
Yeah,
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I love smart leaders who really understand that people are the most important element to fast growth. When you think about scaling your company, you want to make sure your people are taken care of. This entrepreneurial culture is something I believe in. I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times across all of these interviews. And so you can activate that if you step up with your own leadership. If you have any questions about how to actually do this inside your company, make sure you reach out to me. I'd love to connect with you. Just go to my website, Gene Hammett. You can find tri-coaching links up there. You can connect with me where I can serve you without you investing any money. I want to make sure that you understand this is not an empty offer. This is an offer I make to those that really do want to take it to the next level with their leadership and culture. Just go to genehammett.com. When you think about leadership and you think about culture, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, lead with courage. We'll see you next time.